Welcome to the Success Sculpting Show with Stephen Pierce, bringing you the right information right now to sculpt a more meaningful and memorable life of success. Join us each week to discover gems to help you grow your mental toughness, expand your will to win, and multiply your results. It's never been easier to learn what to do and how to do it to succeed at what you choose to do. This is truly an experience you won't find anywhere else. Now, here's your host, the success sculptor himself, Stephen Pierce.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Success Sculpting Show. And I'm really excited about what we're going to be talking about today, because this is something that has been, I know it's a life battle for everyone, but man, has this been a battle for me. So what are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about how to escape thought prisons and overcome mental strongholds. I'm sure you already know the old saying that the true battlefield, the true battleground is in your own mind. But now you may be asking, well, what the heck, man, is a thought prison and a mental stronghold? Well, a thought prison and a mental stronghold are those negative and sabotaging thoughts that create these feelings inside of you that sidetrack and derail you. They sidetrack and derail you. And I want you to keep this in mind. The greatest deception of who you think you are, I'm going to say that again. The greatest deception of who you think you are is preventing you from experiencing an even greater discovery of who you really are. A lot of us, who we truly, really are, that's not what we're living today. Many of us have gone through this metamorphosis from who we really are to becoming who we believe we need to be to survive the environments that we're in, to be socially accepted, to be approved of. So we pretend and we fake. You probably see it everywhere, especially on social media. But that's not who these people really are. And by the way, when it comes to social media, there's really two types of people. Okay. And I'm talking about in the broader sense of those that are looking to get attention through social media. There are those that want to be followed, and there's those that want to be worshiped for their own reasons. But how can you really tell the difference? At least for me, how I can tell the difference. When someone wants you to follow them on social media, what they're giving you is food to feed your appetite for wisdom, for knowledge, for understanding, for edification, for education, for enlightenment. It's not about them as much as it is about what they can deposit into your life to help you to improve yourself on your own journey as a seeker in your life, looking to become that man or woman who you believe that you are sent here to be. That person wants you to follow them for wisdom. Now, those that want you to worship them, you can tell who they are, because the only thing they try to do is entice you through materialism, consumerism. Look at me, look at what I got, look at my new this, look at my new that, I got this, check out my check out my car, check out this. Getting you to admire them and worship them via things, right? So we want to be conscious of all these different things that are coming into our mind. Because trust me, listen, who you're following, who you're paying attention to on social media can actually create thought prisons, or they can provide you with information that can liberate you. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. How to discover who you really are through escaping these thought prisons, because who you are, I believe, because I know this is how it's been in my life, is under multiple layers of different labels that we placed on ourselves and that we've accepted from others. So where is all of this kind of rooted in? Where do all these thought prisons come from, and how do we get these mental strongholds? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, witchcraft. Now before you get to running, stick with me here. Today's society, there is a rampage of witchcraft that goes on in your own dialogue with people, through music, through movies, through television, through books. Massive amount of witchcraft. But let me ask you a question. Do you believe, or do you know, that you have been affected or afflicted by the whispering words of witchcraft. Because witchcraft is really all about control via spells, right? Verbal spells specifically is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about a rabbit's foot, although some people may get deep into the voodoo stuff. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is more simplistic, but equally as powerful. So stick with me, because by the time we're finished with this, you may come to the conclusion, dude, this is why my life is so jacked up. I'm under a spell. I'm under a spell. See, verbal spells consist of different negative labels that people will place on you, or that you place on yourself by virtue of what it is you're saying. Right? So how do you become spellbound? Which, by the way, that's how a lot of people are. They're living their life spellbound. A negative, and by the way, this is mostly negative because a lot of people don't hardly spellbound themselves with the positive. A negative verbal spell is spoken over you repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly. And this is what I call casting the spell. Somebody constantly tells you you're no good, you're not good enough, you're ugly, or whatever the negative label is. That is casting the spell, right? It becomes your own internal cantation when you start to repeat this to yourself and you start to own it. At that point in time, this is what I call capturing and carrying that spell. Okay, and we're gonna get a little deep into that. But I mentioned incantation. You may be like, well, what the heck, man, is an incantation? Well, Wikipedia says that an incantation is a charm or spell that's created using words, right? And they say that an incantation can take place during rituals or through a hymn or a prayer, and it may invoke or praise a deity. But in magic and the occult, and also in witchcraft, is used with the intention of casting a spell on an object or on a person. Casting the spell. So when you're speaking things over yourself, you're casting spells, and you can become spellbound, which means you are under the hypnosis of what it is you're saying, and you start to live that thing out. So it becomes true for you. It may not necessarily be the truth of the matter, but the truth of the matter no longer matters when what has become true for you is what you're living out. So it's casting the spell. So I want you to stop and I want you to think about all the different things. You can go back as far as you want. All the different things that people have said to you and about you negatively that have gotten into your blood, has gotten into your brain, has gotten into you at a cellular level. And you seem to be living that out today. Almost as by the script, as if it was prophesied over your life that you were going to be this type of way, and it's a prediction that's coming true. The only reason why it's coming true is because you're under that spell. Okay, you're under that spell. So what we want to realize is, hey, listen, all of us, and listen, I don't say this to say that, everybody is a good person, because I know a lot of people that aren't good people. And I see people that are spellbound every single day. I mean, I don't know, maybe in your life, people that 100% they are liars, they're thieves. That they are basically criminals in the dark. But in the light, in the public, they carry themselves a certain way, and they talk to people in a certain way, kind of like sleight of mouth, where it's fascinating to see how they can get people to be under their spell and either not see or ignore the overt and obvious wickedness of their ways. Listen, I've seen it and I still see it to this day. And I'm no longer fascinated by it because I kind of get it now. I get that, hey, listen, man, this is about casting spells. Now, some people may cast spells without even knowing that they're casting spells on people. But if you go through and you look at people, you start to see how hypnotized people become by other people, by other people's words. I see people, they know how to sweet talk you, some evil people that can sweet talk you so good. You're so caught up in your feelings that if a person says the right things to you to make you feel good, you don't see anything else, because we are seekers of approval of people and adoration from people and acceptance of people, that regardless of who the people may be, for the most part, If they say the things to you, if they can sweet talk you and they can make you start to feel good about yourself and they can start to say those things to make you feel the warm and fuzzy, you don't see anything else. You think that person is good because they make you feel good based on what they're saying. Not that they do good, but here's the trick though. If a person makes you feel good and you associate that feeling with them, no matter what it is they do, even if it's bad, you somehow will justify it, excuse it, pardon it, or think that it's good. Being under a spell is very, very dangerous. And I remember the moment I started to wake up, look, I know people right now that are still spellbound. They think they're smart. They think they're really intelligent. They just don't know how dumb they are and how much under people's spells that they are. But listen, I'm not a spell breaker. I'm not going to go. I can't go to these people and clap my hands and do whatever to get them under the spell. I can see it though. I see it. And you may know people that practice witchcraft, deliberately practice witchcraft and deliberately go out and cast spells on people. But I'm going to tell you right now, if there's a lot that has been going on in your life and you just can't figure out why in the world, no matter what it is you do, it's a train wreck. No matter what you do, something always seems to go wrong, independent of you, but somehow it crashes into your life. Something is constantly holding you down emotionally, constantly holding you down mentally, constantly holding you down financially. There's always something disrupting your life in one area or another where you're looking to make progress. There is a very high probability that someone is practicing witchcraft on you, casting spells on you, running curses over you, or a long time ago, a spell was casted and you're just still constantly living it out. So you have these different negative thoughts that are running through your mind. Listen, man, we have to ask ourselves, where did it come from? Because if I don't want to think this way about myself, if I don't want to feel this way about myself and it's coming on me, where is it coming from? If I'm not the source of me wanting to feel these negative things about myself, about my future, about my potential, about my past, about my present, about whatever, if I don't want to feel these certain things and I don't want to think these certain things, but these feelings seem to just kind of like jump on me and these thoughts just seem to try to come in and just strangle me, I have to ask myself, where are they coming from? Somebody must be pitching these things my way. Something or someone has to be pitching them my way. So I call this the broken halo, right? So, and again, I don't say this like everybody's perfect, but what I believe is that every one of us, metaphorically speaking, by the way, we have a halo that's a circle of light, of hope and a promise, right? That we all have for ourselves, our different ambitions, the good that we want to do, the contributions that we want to make, the things that we want to achieve, for whatever our reasons may be, right? For our families, for our futures, for our wives, for our kids, for whatever our reasons are. And I call that the halo. But then the halo gets broken. And I look at it as three different phases to the broken halo effect. The first one is the invasion. There's some kind of crack that's in your halo and that breaks inside of you and leads you into some form of bondage. And this generally comes from lies that you're told about yourself, your past, your future, your possibilities, and certain things that people say to you or say about you. It tends to always start with words. That old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Look, that's folly, man. That's total foolishness. Words are extremely important. Words that we say to ourselves and words that we say to others. Now, I can break down a whole bunch of scriptures on you, but I'm not going to try to get too biblical on you. Maybe I should start doing some stuff and breaking down some scriptures on some other future podcasts. I don't know. I got to think about it. But the first thing is there's the invasion. The invasion happens with words that are spoken, right? Words that are spoken. Sometimes it can be from people that mean well. Like, for example, let's just say you want to start a business or you want to do something and somebody doesn't want you to be hurt or don't want you to be disappointed. So they start to say things to discourage you, not really understanding the effect that that's going to ultimately have on you. But then there's those that they're doing it deliberately. They want to hurt you, right? So after the invasion comes the infiltration. This is where the words start to take root and create these internal beachheads and strongholds in your mind. This is when we start to validate what has been said to us or about us, right? There's an old saying that you can't stop a bird from flying over your head, but you can stop it from building a nest on it, right? Like if a bird flies over your head, hey, look, man, it's gone. You can't stop it from flying over your head. But if it tries to start putting sticks and twigs on your head to build a nest, you can stop it, right? And it's to the point you cannot stop people from saying negative things to you or about you, but you do not have to internalize those things that they are saying to you or about you. And what they're saying is more a representation of who they are than it is who you are. But the problem is many of us, you don't get offended, many of us were weak-minded. We are truly weak-minded. We don't understand warfare. We don't understand fighting. We don't understand combat. We just don't get that. You know, we think everything's supposed to be cool. Everything's supposed to be okay. We don't understand the depths of the battles that go on, not just internally, but the battles that go on externally, physically, and even more importantly, the battles that go on spiritually. Yeah, because there is a spiritual war that's going on. And if you think you're going to always try to beat this thing down physically, you've already lost before you started. You lost before you started. So from the invasion to the infiltration, we go to what is probably the final part, the institution. This is when the stronghold starts to strangle your true identity. This is when our lives is now filtered through the lens of those lies. Somebody says something about you, you're a loser. Let's keep it simple. Let's just say they say you're a loser, and they keep telling you you're a loser. You're good for nothing. And whatever the negative thing is, that is the invasion. That is them speaking those things into your life. And then all of a sudden, maybe you hear it so much, you start to have confirmation bias, if you will. Confirmation bias is where you start to look for things to confirm a belief, and anything that does not confirm the belief or that says that belief isn't true, you kind of delete that out. So maybe you start to look at your life and be like, dude, you know what? Maybe I am this, that, or the other. You start to consider it. Now all of a sudden it's starting to infiltrate your mind, right? It's starting to set up that beachhead. Now it's starting to become that stronghold. You're starting to validate it. And then when you start to filter your actions, oh, I can't do that. What? Up, loser, or whatever it is, at that point in time, it has been instituted into your life. It has now started to strangle who you truly are, because you don't see yourself as who you are. You see yourself through the lens of whatever those labels are on your life. Right. And that starts to create what I call the DNA of destruction, which is doubt and negative attitude, And I've said this before, that doubt is an abuse of faith, because doubt is believing something. It's just believing that you can't. Right. So if you every one of us have faith. We either believe we can do something or we believe we can't do something. Believing we can, we say, that's called belief. You can, but believing you can't is called doubt, but it's still an exercise of your faith. You have confidence that you can do something, you're confident, or you have confidence you can't do something. Either way, you are still confident in yourself. You are confident that you are not able to do it, or you're confident that you can do it. And here's the question. If you want to accomplish something, you want to build something, you want to do, be, have, and create something, and it requires you to have a certain level of belief, but you do not have that belief, and belief is your ownership. Nobody can own your belief for you. Nobody can have faith for you when you're going through your life. So if you believe that you can't, ask yourself, why is it I want to accomplish this? But yet the very I that wants to accomplish it is the same I that says I can't do it. Where does this internal conflict come from? Something has invaded, infiltrated, and has become institutionalized in your thinking that has created that doubt and the negative attitude, which is the DNA of destruction. So where did it come from? Huh? Where'd it come from? So here's some things I want you to keep in mind. 1, don't harvest what people try to plant in your head. Don't harvest what people try to plant in your head. Listen, people are going to try to sow all kinds of negative thoughts into you for whatever they got their agenda, whatever. Who cares what their agenda is? The thing is, the moment they start dropping these negative seeds, don't let those things harvest, and don't start picking the harvest, right? Don't start picking the negative fruit of what they want to have grow in your mind and in your life. Another thing, don't let what you are distort who you are, right? And let me clarify the difference. I associate what we are based on, and again, this comes again, and I put it in these terms because of the labels that we tend to accept. Right? You may feel as if what you are is a failure in business, quote unquote. Right? So if you feel or you see yourself through the lens because you didn't have businesses that didn't work out, which by the way, if you're an entrepreneur and you have businesses that haven't worked out in the past, so what, man? That happens for everybody. You may be seeing people successful in business right now, but what you have to do is you have to look at the backstory and understand how many business failures they've gone through, the bankruptcies, the repossessions, and all these things. You know, look, only a fool will frown on someone figuring out how to become successful, and through that process of figuring it out, they have issues financially. That is just par for the course. Very, 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 very few people ever in the archives of history have ever gone on the path of becoming successful in business, or for the most part anything, and have not been faced with a huge pushback of adversity and setbacks and challenges. That is designed to strengthen you and to see how bad do you really want it. So you can want something and somebody gives it to you. So what? You weren't even tested for it. By the way, you didn't even qualify for it. You know, you want to get a degree, you just can't go through it. It ain't like drive through. Well, you know, a fake degree, you can order one online. Hey, let me get a bachelor's. Let me get a PhD. You can order that crap online, but that's not real, right? So you have the paper, but you don't have the substance that goes with that paper. But if you want the substance in the paper, in the degree, you just can't drive through like a fast food joint and order some burgers and fries. You can't go, hey, let me get 2 bachelors and a PhD to go place. No. You got to go and you got to earn the right to it. And earning the right to it is a process of learning and being tested. Now, interesting enough, when you go to school, you know you're going to be tested. And the tests serve to show you where you are, right? It reveals what you really know based on the curriculum. And if you are ready to pass that test to go to the next level, which will present you with more learning in another test. The test is a process of constantly qualifying you as you march toward the graduation to get the degree. And for some reason, this is acceptable when it comes down to learning in school. But why is that not acceptable when it comes to learning in life? When life is throwing you curveballs, fastballs, knuckleballs, sliders, whatever kind of ball you want to think of, now we got complaints. Oh, I'm going through it. You darn right you're going through it. What's the surprise? The surprise if you ain't going through nothing. That's the shocking part if you not going through something. People are waiting for the struggle to be over. Hey, let me give you a clue. It ain't ever going to be over. I don't care who you are, where you are, what your language is, nationality, background, or income level. It ain't ever over. There's always going to be a challenge in a certain area of your life. It's just how life has us in this big old pressure cooker from the cradle to the grave. How is it, though, that we can accept the idea that we're going to be tested in school? Now, here's the thing. When it's time to get tested in school, do people start passing out? Oh, my gosh. Faint. Test. Why are they testing me? Oh, my gosh. You know you're going to be tested. But here's the thing. Aren't you preparing for the test the entire time? You're learning this new information. preparing for a test that you know is coming, to prove that you know enough, to go to the next level of studies, to learn more stuff, to be tested yet again? Why is it we don't live our lives preparing for the constant test and battle that life is going to give us based on whatever it is we're choosing to become or to be, to do, to have, or to contribute? And your test is going to really be based on what you decide to do in life. Look, if you decide to become an attorney, that test is going to be a whole lot different than the test to become a physician, like literally in terms of the school and then in life. You decide to become an athlete, that's a different test than if you decide to become an entrepreneur, but they're all tests, all the same, right? So if we start to live our lives and understand, hey, bring on the test. My responsibility, and here's my thing, you know I'm going to get strong, is to be strong enough, long enough. Be strong enough, long enough. That's why I'm here. That's why I do the Success Sculpting Show. That's why I decided to come back and start doing all this stuff, because I realized in my life, there's there's a lot of people that would love for you to be weak and disappear because you are the bane of their existence. You remind them of the evil they've done in the dark, and they hope and pray that the light don't shine on it. Oh, but the light will shine because nobody escapes. People can do wicked in this world. It's amazing to me how, and I'm going to take a little quick sidebar, how quote unquote Christians who claim to thump the Bible, but they are perpetual liars and deceivers and think somehow that from a scriptural standpoint, liars will inherit the kingdom of heaven. People live their lives physically as if there are no spiritual consequences. There's no internal consequences, which, by the way, if you don't believe in that, that's your business. I have my beliefs, right? And we do know the scripture says the unbelieving, I guess that would put you in that category. They don't inherit the kingdom either, nor liars, deceivers. I can go through the whole list, but you see a bunch of these quote unquote Christians parading around doing it. It's fascinating to me, the mindset that we carry. Because we know that in Timothy it tells us that what? People are lovers of pleasures and they are lovers of the things of the Most High, which are the scriptures. And man is always going to be right in his own eyes. So they will do evil and somehow try to justify it. But nobody escapes, man. Nobody escapes. Nobody gets away. It seems like they're getting away with it, but they're not. And I think I mentioned this before. So when people do you dirty and people do all kinds of wrong and you look at them and you think they're getting away with it, nah, like the scripture says, you don't know their last end. You have no idea what their last end is going to be like. And if people think they die and just disappear and go into no man's land, you better go back to you are fully conscious of the life you lived and all the sins you committed that got you there. That's enough on that right there. But you know what? I should come back, man. I should start doing some stuff and pulling up like hardcore scriptures and stuff. Maybe I'll just do a different show, a different segment talking about scriptures, because some of this prosperity gospel, these fake hooting and hollering, and they feelings, Christians, they kind of like it just breeds weakness. All this feeling stuff. I ain't feeling it. Oh, can you feel the spirit? Show me where the apostles, all the prophets was talking about, can you feel the spirit? The scriptures is about faith. It ain't about feelings. But that's enough on that. I got another one for you. Believing you can't. And I told you that believing you can't isn't the problem. Is not believing you can. See, and why do I say that? Because having a little doubt and a little uncertainty, hey, listen, because we're human. That's not the problem. It's when you believe you can't do it that it becomes a problem, right? So a little doubt, a little uncertainty, it's okay, because if you use it the right way, you'll allow that doubt and uncertainty have you to dig in a little more to shore up your skill set, right? Because it's like, hey, you know what? I'm feeling a little doubtful here. I'm feeling a little uncertain. So let me dig in my heels a little more. Let me go a little bit deeper. Let me get a little bit sharper so I can increase my confidence that I'm gonna be able to get this thing done. You follow what I'm saying? So believing you can't isn't really the problem. It's not believing you can. Yes, they can both exist at the same time. If you have a little uncertain, again, just like I said, if you feel a little doubt, feel uncertain, if you use it the right way, then you leverage that to make sure that you're on point, right? Another one, moments of doubt aren't destructive. It's the momentum of doubt. It's the momentum of doubt. When you allow that doubt to take over, when you allow that doubt to propel you forward, and everything you're doing is through that lens, is through that cloud, is through all of those doubts. That's the issue. Not having a moment of doubt, but having doubt as momentum in your life. That right there, my friend, becomes the big issue, right? So here's something I got for you. What's natural is the power of your own mind and certain abilities that you've been given here on this earth, which our creator, the Almighty, the Most High, Elohim, has given all of us, right? It's a contribution to us. That's natural for us. And now one can argue that is different amongst different peoples, but guess what? Hey, different amongst different people, but guess what? You got what you got, right? Now our nature is coded and is sculptured by those around us in infancy, because when we come in, we're kind of like a blank canvas, right? We're born, it's a blank canvas, right? And look, all the people that are our guardians rather, and our peer groups, they kind of contribute to our identity. They kind of contribute to who we start to become and how we start to think and what we start to believe and what we start to fear when we're young, right? So that starts to become our early nature. But what we nurture is decided by us as well as adults, conscious, fully aware adults. And that's our contribution to ourselves. Now, the thing is that a lot of things that starts to be given to us as our nature from those around us can have us to forget what's natural, our natural ability to do certain things. Right? It's called learned helplessness, right? If you really already have all that it is that you need, that can be further developed, by the way, but you learn to be helpless, you learn that you can't, you learn all these different negative things, then you tend to go through your life forgetting what your natural powers are, what your natural ability is. And now you're fully disconnected from that, and you're trying to live your life battling these things that became a part of your nature as an infant, from mama, daddy, auntie, grandma, grandpa, uncle, and all the peer groups and stuff. And if we do not wake up and we do not become fully aware, then what do you think we're going to start to nurture in ourselves? What do you think we, as grown, conscious adults, will start to nurture in ourselves? Are we going to start to nurture more of that same negative stuff? Or do we make a different decision and say, hey, wait a second, this right here is not in alignment with what it is I believe in terms of, however your belief system operates, what you believe you're here to do. And at that point in time, we have to make a decision. We have to make a decision. And sometimes those decisions are cutting people off. People are important, but what's also important is to not have the wrong people around you, right? A long time ago, when I was talking to people about this whole thing about relationships, one thing that I said then and I'm going to say now, when you have these long-term relationships and they're toxic relationships, they're not good, they're not healthy. I lived my life a long time. I was out there making a bunch of money, but people didn't know the battles I had, the depression I fought because of stuff that I would go through in my own home. And I concealed it. And even to this day, because it's like, it's whatever. But you have battles. You have your battle. And then at some point in time, you have to look, you got to say, hey, in terms of these particular relationships, and I'm talking about relationships, it can be all kinds of things, but let's talk about relationships because I know that's huge. For some people, it may be social media or whatever. With these relationships, it can be painful to let them go. It can be painful because they're familiar. And even though they're not healthy relationships, somehow you find a certain amount of comfort in those relationships because you're familiar with those relationships. You're familiar with that pain. You're familiar with the disappointment. You're familiar with whatever it is that relationship has, even though you don't like what it brings you. You just don't like the dynamics of the relationship, right? But here's one thing to keep in mind, and you probably already know this, but let me just share it with you this way. The pain you will experience in letting a relationship go is nothing compared to the hell you would pay for keeping it. And maybe you already know this. It can be painful to let a person go. It can be painful to cut a person off. But it is much preferred to have that pain for a short time than a long-term hell for letting that relationship live on. Maybe you're right. You're there right now. You're there right now. You know, we kind of have to just look at our lives and just figure out, you know, look, man, what am I going to do? And I think it kind of starts with looking at your life. Pull out a piece of paper and write down everything it is you want to accomplish, right? Everything it is you want to accomplish. Then write down all the different things you feel about your ability to be able to accomplish that. And then for most people, the list of how they feel or what they think about their ability to be able to accomplish it is going to be a negative list. It may be spotty with some positive things, but for the most part, it's going to be a negative list. And then you have to sit and be honest with yourself and ask yourself, where did I learn to think like this? Where did I get these feelings from? Where is this coming from? Because it doesn't make sense that if I'm sitting here or I'm standing here, I say, this is what I want to accomplish. These are my ambitions, my goals, my dreams, my desires. This right here. But then me, the same person that says I want to accomplish these things, will then come back and say, I can't. It's impossible. It won't happen, or whatever the negative things are. And you have to ask yourself, who has created the division within yourself? Because we know what the scripture says. A house divided within itself can't stand. Right? And if you say I want it, but I can't, I want it, but I can't, that's being double-minded. And what does the scripture say about that? A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So there you go. You want to accomplish all these different things, but then we're double-minded. We're divided within ourselves because I have an ambition that I'm keeping myself from, because I say, even though I want to accomplish that thing, I can't. Even though I want to build this here, it won't happen. Where am I getting these thoughts from? Listen, to me, you're spellbound. You're under somebody's spell. You're under somebody's curse. Now, which by the way, if you do find out somebody's putting curses on you, and trust me, you'd be surprised. Witches don't walk around talking about they witches. People putting spells and you don't go around talking about they putting spells when you or put spells on anybody. They conceal the whole thing. That's the thing. Being able to discern spirits has nothing to do with what you feel in your gut. People, I don't feel it in my gut. Forget your gut, man. Forget it. That's not what it's about. This is a spiritual thing, not a physical thing. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes your gut can be right, but that's not what I'm talking about. This is a different battle, right? You know what the scriptures say, the weapons of your warfare are not carnal, right? You don't wrestle against flesh and blood, right? So, I kind of keep throwing some of them things in there, but you get it. Listen, if you want to understand what's going on in your mind, you have to understand what's going on. If you want to understand the strongholds that seem to be taking over your thoughts, you got to understand what's going on. Ask yourself, what sense does it make if I want to accomplish something, I'm also telling myself I can't? How am I so divided within myself? What is creating this internal conflict? Where is it coming from? Then you start to look, say, man, I must be spellbound. But now, which, by the way, if you truly feel or believe or know someone is casting negative spells on you and cursing you, scripture says, bless those that curse you and do well to those that despisefully use you. Right? Their payment is going to come. Let them laugh it up, which, by the way, what people accomplish and acquire here through lying, stealing, cheating, berating, backstabbing, and all the wickedness they do, you got to understand, that's their earthly inheritance. They're permitted to have that. But then, as the scriptures say, they never consider that they'll have to pay for it in death, the second death. They don't even consider it. But there's no escape. Ain't a video game. You can't put a coin in. or hit a reset button and say, hey, you know what? Let me do this over. Can I do this again? It's over. Over. So you need to think about it. People think they're going to escape. Yeah. We got to. Maybe I should do a fire and brimstone podcast so people can kind of wake up and know when you die, you ain't. Everybody ain't going to heaven. And first of all, nobody goes to heaven right now because heaven ain't ready. It's called paradise. Heaven doesn't come until after the second judgment. You ain't go to heaven. It's paradise. Just like Yahweh Shai, who the world calls Christ, told the thief, he said, this day you will be with me in paradise. And the rich man, he was in torments and could see over into paradise. It is the holding place before the second judgment when people are then heaven and hell, eternal, right? Immortality. Everybody gets immortality. It's just where you're going to be. But why do I bring that up? Because, listen, we all got this one physical life. And we get so wrapped up in materialism and consumerism and our social environments and what people think about us and our places and our things and how we look and our size and our shapes and that we do all these things to cater to other mere mortals who, when they die, their thoughts are going to perish and their bodies are going to start to inherit what? Dust and worms. Live your life for something bigger. Live your life for something that goes beyond the next watch, the next shoes, the next car, the next like on your page, the next share. Because at the end of the day, it's all vanity. It's all vanity. I'm not saying don't have fun. I'm not saying don't have nice things. What I'm saying is sometimes when we allow those things to become more important, we sacrifice who we really are at the altar of all these peoples and places and things. You literally die to try to appease and please certain people. You kill yourself. Don't ever sacrifice your future or your identity at the feet of any man or woman. No man or woman walking the face of this earth is worthy for you to bow down to and sacrifice who you are to them. Or sacrifice what you're called to be, or sacrifice your true identity, or sacrifice what you were designed and sent here to become. Nobody. I don't care who they are. Start to step back and say, wait a second, let me no longer be spellbounded by these people, these places, these things, what people think about me, what people say about me. Let me start to let me come to myself. Remember the prodigal son? He came to himself. He remembered who he was. He said, wait a second, man, why am I down here with the pigs in the mud? That's not who I am. What you need to do is come to yourself. I'm not talking about go to somebody and say, can you tell me who I am, please? No. You need to take some time, turn off stuff that just keeps flooding your mind with more spells and other distractions, and start to understand who you are, and then eventually you're going to come to yourself. Start to pull back the different layers of fear, the layers of intimidation, the layers of doubt and discouragement and depression and comparison. Oh my God, stop comparing your lives to all these fake people who are attention starved, who are social pimps and prostitutes on social media. Don't compare yourself to these people, please. Jeez whiz, the Most High did not set up any man or woman that's walking the face of the earth today as a rule of measure that you should be comparing yourself to. Other people are going to make comparisons, I get it, but that does not mean you do that, because it's a trap. Most of the times you can find someone you're doing better than and you'll start to feel superior, and that's fake. You can find somebody doing better than you and you'll start to feel inferior, and that's fake too. Those emotions will drive you crazy, feeling superior or feeling inferior. We don't need to go through a life trying to feel inferior to anybody or superior to anybody, because it doesn't even matter. Does not even matter. What you want to do is know who you are. And it's very difficult to know who you are when your thoughts are prisons and you're constantly going through these battles, and it's the same battle over and over again because of the mental strongholds. So do yourself a favor, ladies and gentlemen. Do yourself a favor. Evaluate your life and be honest. And then try to figure out under whose spell are you under. And which, by the way, you don't necessarily have to know the person or the people that may have cast a spell on you or trying to curse you and practicing divinations and witchcraft and magic and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, who cares? The thing is, if you realize it's going on, take action and do something about it. Take action and do something about it. Now, my approach, I would have to do a different show on that because my approach is a spiritual warfare approach. And that's a different show. A totally different show. Then I'm going to have to be pulling out all kinds of scriptures on you. And, you know, if you like scriptures, then you'll love it. If you don't like scriptures, then this ain't your show. At least that won't be your episode. That's just how, you know, that's where I go. You know, that's just where I'm at, you know, with it. You know, when you go and you look at the scriptures, you know, our forefathers, they died for the scriptures. People today trying to collect friends. Show me in the scriptures where they was collecting friends, trying to be liked by everybody. There's scriptures against that. Fancy titles. There's scriptures against that. Y'all better crack over that book, man. Crack open the book and understand what it's saying, not what your pastor is spitting from the pulpit that serves their pockets and purpose. Well, broad is the road. And not only is broad the road that leads to destruction, you know, eternal destruction, it also leads to physical destruction because of all the things in our society that is there to keep us distracted for what really is important. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying entertainment is bad and having things is bad. That's not what I'm saying. We tend to overindulge and we put too much weight on things that should be weightless, like likes on your page, follows and friends and all this other kind of stuff. Feeling so low. But you have these women that call themselves Christians and maybe they don't understand what modest apparel is like. So I'm like, look, you got your belly out, breast out, butt out, and you call yourself a Christian. What is modest apparel? I don't get it, man. People crazy. You don't have to do that. You don't have to sell yourself out like that. What were you coming up short at? Did you feel as if you got to do that? You know, look, don't get me wrong. I am not the moral police, but what I'm saying is that when somebody wants to parade around and say they are a certain type of person, they want to label themselves as whatever. They want to label themselves as a Christian or as Islamic or whatever it is they want to label themselves as. There are certain things that come within that. And when you live contrary to that, you're a hypocrite. Right? You say, oh, you can't judge. Nope. Scripture says you can judge righteous judgment, and the scriptures are there for proof and correction. How do you correct somebody if you don't look at the fruit that they're bearing and that the fruit is not consistent with the very scriptures that they say that they adhere to? No. Then let's go back to these scriptures. I know this was a little bit different, everybody. Anyway, hopefully you get the point that at the end of the day, this is a spiritual battle, man. And if you're trying to fight a spiritual battle with physical tools, you're gonna kind of be in trouble. But there are some physical tools that you can use. But the first thing I think you should do is try to figure out why you think what you think about yourself, about your future, about your past, about your possibilities, about your present. Why do you think that way? Why do you feel that way? Why are you divided within yourself? You want to accomplish it, but you don't feel as if you can. Why are you double-minded? You can't. You want to, but you can't. Where's all that coming from? Got to figure that out. And then we got to do something about it. But the first thing to do is to figure out, hey, you know what? Now that I know these thoughts are really not my thoughts, I've taken ownership of somebody else's thoughts and I have made them my own. I'm going to replace those with what I want to think. Now, that's, don't get me wrong, that's easier said than done. I get it. But we need to figure out a way to make it easier done than said, which is the moment we get it, write it down, write down what that negative phrase or negative word is, kind of get into it, and then write down what the opposite one is. And if you need to, carry them on index cards so you can do what's called thought replacement. Thought replacement is when the habitual negative thought comes, you already have written the thought to cancel that one out. So you immediately need to cancel out that thought. If you listen to one of my audios a long time ago called "This Will Change Your Life," one of the things that I would do is that when a negative thought would come, I would scream out and clap my hands and say, "Cancel!" I would do a little bit more forceful than that, but I'm not trying to redline these audios. But I would cancel it. I would scream and cancel it out. And can you imagine how often I would do that every day? It would be quite a bit. Because of how bombarded your mind can be with negative thoughts, I would cancel them out. The moment the thought would come, I would with everything in my body, I would scream and clap my hands and say cancel. The audio is called "This Will Change Your Life," and I actually talked about that because guess what? It's me and my thoughts, and wherever those thoughts are coming from, I can't sit there and say, "Can you come take care of these thoughts for me?" I gotta handle that, man. You have to handle that. And we have to handle it immediately because we don't want the infiltration, right? Remember, invasion, infiltration of an institution. We have to, the moment it comes in, boom, take care of it. If somebody was breaking into your house, what you gonna do? Would you like to have a cup of tea? Would you like to have some toast and eggs? Can I get you something to eat when someone's breaking in your house? Nah, you come up in this junk. I got guns in multiple places up in this junk. People don't even know that. AR-15, 9mm, because people have their own feelings about guns. But hey, look, somebody come in with a gun, surprise, surprise, mother. You know what I'm saying? But the whole point is somebody roll up on you. Guess what? If they roll up in your house, you ain't throwing out a welcoming party. You shutting that thing down, right? Because they trying to take over. But guess what? That's what these negative thoughts invading your mind are trying to do. They're trying to take over. Shut them down. Don't invite them in. Don't show them the bedroom and tuck them in. And be like, oh, let me fluff your pillow for you and tuck them in and allow them to make themselves at home in your brain and in your mind. No. You shut them down like a thief trying to get in your crib. But that's our responsibility. Don't play with those thoughts, man, because them thoughts ain't going to play with you. When them thoughts come, regardless of how they're coming, they will destroy your life. You need to blow those things up every time they show up. Remember whack-a-mole? I used to play whack-a-mole. Whack-a-mole, that's what it feels like sometimes. You hit one, here comes another. You hit another one, and it's like, you playing whack-a-mole with your negative thoughts, but guess what? Whack those moles. I don't care. Whack those moles. You keep whacking them. Does it ever end? No, not really. But that's just life, man. At least it don't end while you're alive. and when you die, if you go to the torments, it really don't end because you remember all the evil. You remember all the wickedness. You never forget it. That's why the scripture says a man's sins will convict him. Not the Most High, your own sins, because you're going to remember, be like, oh, that's why I'm going there. Oh, man. Yeah, that's how it works. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you kind of get the point today about escaping your thought prisons and overcoming mental strongholds. I took some scripture rabbit trails, and I do not apologize. So don't even wait for that. But here, listen, what we want to do is we need to be the gatekeepers of our mind. Because your mind, your thoughts, that is actually a leverage point in your life. Where that goes everything else. Where that goes, it's kind of like the leadership central of your entire life. Your thoughts, your thought patterns, what you focus on, what you think repeatedly, and all that kind of stuff. And that's tied into your language. They're all wrapped in together. And again, I would encourage you to listen to the audio called "This Will Change Your Life," because I even talk about that. I talk about your thoughts, your focus, your beliefs, the images on your mind, and all those things, and how those create the construct of your life experience. It doesn't matter what's going on externally. It's how we construct everything internally with the combination of those ingredients. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you and appreciate you for tuning in today for the Success Sculpting Show. Most High willing, man, we'll be back next week with something else. Something else. We'll see. We'll just figure it out. But hopefully it's going to be good, and it's going to help you to get strong. And you know how I say it, man. Be strong enough, long enough.
Thanks for listening to the Success Sculpting Show with Stephen Pierce. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, successsculptingshow.com, to your friends and colleagues. Be sure to check out our archives of previous podcasts and check the schedule to join us for our next live streaming Success Sculpting Show webcast. This has been a Success Sculpting Incorporated production. Join us next time for another edition of the Success Sculpting Show with Stephen Pierce, and tell your friends.